Hi everyone, my name is Kayla. I'm doing this video so I can give my experience with my diagnosis with a form of diabetes called LADA. Stands for late autoimmune disease in adults. So to give like a little bit of a background, I am a fairly healthy individual with no family history of diabetes at all, not type 1 or type 2, or LADA's considered 1.5, not even that. So for me, life was very normal until it wasn't. The first time that I noticed was that my vision was going bad. Um, it was blurring. I work in optometry, so I perform eye acuity exams on patients. I noticed that my eyes were really getting bad because the letters on certain lines were progressively becoming more difficult for me to read, as my patients would attempt to read the lowest lines of the letters that they could possibly see. Good thing for me, I guess, is I memorized all of the lines for like the vision acuity of 2010, so better than perfect vision, to 2040. So I was still able to perform my job. This occurred on or around the date of November 12th when I first started noticing the symptoms with my vision. By November 15th, it became difficult for me to read any of the lines that I had memorized. So I talked with my eye doctor and I asked him if he could perform an eye exam on me, and he did. We discovered that my vision did severely decrease from the last eye exam that we had, which was less than a month ago. My eye doctor, he is always happy to like teach, so we pretty much did an eye test or an eye exam on me to try to like teach me, and then my assistant, what he does. I decided to rest that weekend. The 15th was a Friday, so I rested the 16th and the 17th. In hopes that my eyes would return to 2020. The 18th of November, I returned to work with a progressively worsening vision, actually. It was still very blurry, but it was my husband's birthday, so pretty much when I got into work that day, I was just worried about getting out of there so that way we can celebrate his day. I noticed later that day that I was also going to the bathroom very often, and also drinking a lot of water. November 19th came and I am back at work, but this time my vision is much worse, like much, much, much worse. I asked the eye doctor to do another eye exam on me once again. Everything was fine. Besides, he diagnosed me with a posterior vitreous detachment in my left eye, but that's not really a serious vision concern or serious issue at all. He then told me to go to the hospital. And I was also informed me that my vision was 2080. So in less than a month's time, my vision went from 2020, and then it went to 2040, the first eye exam he gave me, and then the last one, it was 2080. So I was like not legally able to drive. I was escorted to the hospital by my best friend. When we got there, they performed another acuity exam on me. Then I was taken into the room in the ER. Several vials of blood were drawn from the IV line that they had in my right arm. After a while, they came back and told me that I was diabetic with a blood sugar of 559 and my A1C was 10.8%. I was very shocked, but also very happy to know that I was not losing my vision permanently. So after a few more blood checks and like discharge education, I was finally able to be discharged with a bag full of medical supplies and medication. That included a continuous glucose monitor, a manual finger prick reader, alcohol swabs, obviously the sensors for the glucose, continuous glucose monitor, my Lantus, the metformin. Originally, I was told to take 1 metformin per day for 7 days and then increase it to 2. And then I was also told to take 10 units of Lantus daily. And for every 3 days that my fasting glucose was not 130, to increase it by 2 units. I did that for the first 2 days, November 19th to 20th. My blood sugar peaked over 350 for those 2 days, so the 18th and the 19th and also the 20th, but yeah. I took the metformin and Lantus as prescribed, and by the 21st, I had a blood glucose of over 250, but trending downwards. So it spiked to 250, but it was trending downwards pretty quickly. The 21st was pretty much an all-day flight day for me, since I received the news at about 1 a.m. my time, which is Mountain Standard Time, that my mom had passed. So I'm sure I didn't eat much of anything at all that day. I had to wait a couple of days for the other test results to come in. My GAD-65 levels were high at 617.9. The normal range for this is usually 0 to 5. I was negative for all other autoantibody tests. My next appointment wasn't until December 16th, and it was virtual, in which I had an endocrinologist pretty much look over my lab results. She also looked over the data for my continuous glucose monitor. She also just asked me a couple other questions. She ruled out the possibility of type 2 and said that I could either have type 1 diabetes or type 1.5. She also put in an order for more lab work, which I went to the lab at the hospital for about 2 days later. They tested for C-peptide, redid my A1C, and some other thyroid tests. The results came back a few days later, and my C-peptide came back normal at 1.1. The normal range for C-peptide is 1.1 to 4.4. I'm gonna guess that's nanograms per milliliter. My A1C also decreased from 10.8, which was my first one, November 19th, to 9 on December 18th. The only abnormal results that came back were it's a urine microalbumin to urine creatinine ratio, which was at a 214.9 milligrams per gram, which is the normal range is 0 to 29.9. So I was at 214.9. And my urine creatinine was 181, which the normal range is 47 to 118. These results made sense because with diabetes, especially since I was, having high blood sugar for a little bit, obviously that's going to cause some damage to your kidneys with getting those large molecules in spaces where they shouldn't be. Sugar shouldn't come out of your kidneys into your urine at all. I was then officially diagnosed with LADA diabetes, so my official diagnosis was 1.5. My eating habits remained the same for over a month after my original diagnosis and my original hospitalization, I should say. I'm just now recently following a more appropriate diet for my new diagnosis. I do have my cheat days, especially on holidays, but I typically spike to like slightly over 250, but it only spikes for about 2 hours and then it trends right back down to within normal range. I've had a few low blood sugar events, but they usually occur at nighttime while I'm sleeping. So yeah, this is my story about getting diagnosed with LADA. It came out of nowhere. Another key point that I will mention is I did have COVID, which was diagnosed on October 17th. And then by November 19th, like I said, that's when I had to go to the hospital for symptoms I was experiencing for about a week prior to November 19th. So, like I said, fairly healthy, although health doesn't have anything to do with an autoimmune disease. But usually like family history, high stress levels, things like that, like they can contribute. I'm not going to completely get rid of the possibility of high stress. I definitely have been up under a lot of stress for about the past little over 2 years. But yeah, I don't think it's anything that most people wouldn't feel, So yeah, that's pretty much my story. Yeah.